stick around until the end of this interview so you can get a chance to get these vitamins for free. I am so excited to have on this doctor with us today, Dr. Richard Urso. He's one of the best doctors in America. I am telling you right now, if you've never heard of him, you should know about him. He's got quite a following on his social media as well. He is one of the co-founders of America's Frontline Doctors. They've helped a lot of people overcome COVID during that whole situation. So I want you to come in and first of all, give a bit of a background about you.
Yeah, sure. I've been basically involved in nutrition since I was probably like 12 years old, and I originally went and worked in the lab in 1982, and was interested in oncology, looking at derivatives of vitamin C and vitamin A as they might apply to basically healing cancer cells. At that point, kind of decided it was tougher than I thought, and decided to go to medical school. I ended up top of my class, went to a molecular biology lab, started working with tissue culture, found a product called nerve growth factor that had won the Nobel Prize in 1983, started working with it, and found it useful in diabetic wounds and corneal wounds, basically any chronic wound. So I ended up patenting it, and eventually it made it through the FDA. I have an FDA approved drug. I left the university probably 2005, and in the meantime, I had already kind of gone into this foray of making nutritional products, probably somewhere in the late 90s. I can't remember exactly when, but I was very interested in trying to build products that were really high quality, and I felt like a lot of the products that are on the market, they always kind of skimped on the quality. There was always ingredients that I thought didn't need to be there, and I put a lot of them into these products that are in that we're gonna talk about tonight. Yeah, and believe it or not, even though I made most of them pretty long ago, there's still nobody's caught up.
You know, I have to say it's so interesting because I'm very familiar with Varara, and when we bumped into each other not long ago, you asked me like, hey, do you have the essentials for life? I said, of course, I take this every single day. And then you said, do you know that I actually made the formula? I said, wait a second. And you told me these are the best vitamins in the world. And I want you to explain that. But what I love about these vitamins, I'm telling you, I take this every day. My mom takes this every day. My family takes this every day. You have selenium in there. You have zinc in there. You have manganese in there. You have chromium in there. I mean, all the vitamins as well. The formula is excellent. So I want to hear it out of your mouth because you put the formula together.
Yeah. So I kind of started at the top. You know, I think the first thing when I first started doing it, I was thinking to myself, you know, let's make the best product. And I thought, I basically started like ABC. It had turned out that vitamin A, retinol, in my work had shown that there was, levels of that were associated with actually increased cancer. And it turned out in the trials with AREDS, the eye formula, they saw a similar thing. So I went with the beta carotene. That's a natural beta carotene, so it's in its natural form. It's actually not. A lot of them are like a right and left hand form, LNR form. So this is all in the natural form that the body can make use of. So that was kind of the first thing. And then I went to the B vitamins next, and I don't know why I started at B12, but I saw cyanocobalamin, and I thought to myself, why are we using cyanocobalamin? So I called the manufacturer and I said, that's cyanide in there. Why are we using cyanide in our product? And he said, well, it's a little cheaper, and that's how most people do it. And I go, what's the difference in the price? And I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a big amount. And I said, well, we have huge problems. I don't know if people know this, but there are about 72% of people have MHTFR methyl donor defects. And I mean, they can be profound, and it's a huge source of anxiety. I found that patients who have this, vegan diets, they especially suffer because meat has a lot of creatine in it, which also produces methyl groups. But so the best thing we can do is add to the methylation of our body. It's a really important part of many facets of our biochemistry. So the methylation is really important. So we did methylcobalamin, and that's another one. And I can just go down the list. Nobody ever had a vitamin with adequate amounts of vitamin D in it. And the first thing I tell everybody is vitamin D is basically like the data analyst. If you look, every white blood cell in your body has a vitamin D receptor. So if you're not adequately supplementing, your receptor saturation is not going to be there. And if you have good receptor saturation, what we found during COVID is people with a level of 50, 60, which is about where they're 100% saturated, they literally have almost 0% death rate. Almost none of those people went to the ICU. None of those people died. So just having vitamin D, I always say it's not really flu season. It's no negative vitamin D season. And that's a really big thing. So we put in really good amounts. And again, every single white blood cell that fights cancer, fights viruses, it fights bacteria. And if you don't have vitamin D there, what it ends up doing is fighting yourself, autoimmunity, or fighting pollen. You have allergies. So it's really huge. I hate to say this, but I can just keep going on about this. And then we kind of went to, I found, so I went next to the pyridoxine. And pyridoxine is really like one of those things where, it's a vitamin B6. And a lot of people were taking high doses of vitamin B6. Well, high doses cause a peripheral neuropathy. And the time you find in nature is called pyridoxal 5-phosphate. So right away, I found another product. I was like, wow, why are we using this? So this is another thing. Most vitamins you're taking don't have that in there. They have pyridoxine. The other thing is folic acid. And folic acid is a really cheap quality folate. It's poorly absorbed, poorly effective. And what you need is tetramethylhydrofolate. And that's the stuff that you find in nature. If you get it from a natural product, that's what you're actually getting. And again, it's another methyl donor. It's good for your central nervous system, incredibly important. And the next one where we really hit it was that no study had ever shown that vitamin E was helpful in its regular form, which is alpha tocopherol. So whenever we gave 400 or 1,000 of alpha tocopherol, we never saw any decline in cardiovascular disease or pretty much anything. And the only time we'd ever seen changes is when you gave the whole product. So the whole product is we make 7 of the 8, but when you overbalance it and get it out of balance, basically it's not effective. So we've got alpha, beta, gamma, delta tocopherol. We've got alpha, beta, gamma, delta tocotrienol. So it's an 8-part vitamin. And what we call that is a full spectrum vitamin E. So another thing that very, very few, I don't know any that have it. And, we have, I'm just kind of looking in and you see all the levels that we have in there. We have iodine. Iodine is really commonly in most people, it's deficient. I could kind of keep going on. I kind of want to just cut it off because we've got other things to talk about, but the CADS blend, the digestive enzyme blend, the probiotic blend. I mean, we have what I found over COVID is we have bifidobacterium bifidum in the blend here. Bifidobacterium bifidum was found during COVID to be the people who had, besides the vitamin D, that was the second most obvious thing from a nutritional standpoint. And the other third thing being zinc. Zinc deficiency definitely created some issues. So this vitamin is designed to allow you not to have any deficiencies and have adequate amounts of vitamin D so you can get your receptor saturation, because 30 is normal, but that's like having half a tank of gas.
Yeah, it really is an all-in-one multi-nutritional vitamin every day, a daily vitamin. It not only has minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, probiotics, and enzymes. So I'm very thankful you made this because I know you've helped many people during COVID. I loved it. And having gotten to meet you, I'm like, wait a second, you designed this formula. And I know that you are very well known as one of the best doctors in the country by God's grace. So I want to tell you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I founded the Global Coalition of Physicians and Scientists, and that's 18,000 doctors and scientists. Many great people, included the head of the Human Genome Project, the person who developed the mRNA technology originally in the late 80s, early 90s. we have a lot of great scientists from Harvard, Yale, Stanford, basically, all the big schools. So,
Yes.
but importantly, we're basically, producing real science and trying to be uh, a voice for that's not controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. Unfortunately, they are. And these vitamins actually, they are the best of their kind. And as you said, I think you're a great spokesman, by the way. I love the way you finished off. Basically, all those things are really important. The enzymes, this is basically anti-inflammatory too. A lot of these enzymes are aid in inflammation.
On to the next one, Ketozone. Oh my goodness. So it comes in a box like this. You have packets that you can actually put in your drinking water. I use Revive and Ketozone every single day. Honestly, depends on my mood, what I want to start with, whether it be Ketozone or this other one we're going to get into in a second, but taste phenomenal. This actually helps your brain function. It also increases your metabolism. Some people, it might actually help you with sleep. So I want you to explain the formula behind Ketozone, because ketones are super important for the body, but most people don't even know about it. Talk about your blend with Ketozone.
So this started back in, I got really interested in neurodegenerative disease in 2001. And a guy named Richard Veach he's a protege of Johann Krebs for the Krebs cycle. And I ended up becoming friends with him and basically talking to him about ketones and how important they were for the brain. And as I looked at it, it turns out that really ketones, beta hydroxybutyrate especially, is an antioxidant. And it's the most amazing thing is ketones provide 28% more ATP per unit of oxygen. And this means basically that if you're functioning on ketones, if you're an athlete, you're basically going to be, whatever record you have, you'll break your record because you're more efficient. It's a more efficient fuel source. It's also down regulates a lot of pro-inflammatory cytokines like NLRP3 inflammasomes and other pro-inflammatory cytokines. So it's anti-inflammatory. If people take it after, if they're all hung over the day after they're hung over, they take that, they'll immediately feel that difference from having that inflammatory night. So it's wonderful there. Also, it's got a mixture of products. The ketone esters are mixed with different ones in a balance of calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. So it's actually to a certain extent, it's an electrolyte replacement in some sense. And I kind of balanced it out to try to make it so that it wouldn't have too much magnesium, because if you get too much magnesium, you'll be running to the restroom. But magnesium is really important. It's one of the cofactors for many of the actions of vitamin D. So you need to have adequate magnesium in your body and to function, and also to sleep well. So this product, it could potentially, for some people, I've had some people that it could potentially help them sleep, but I've also had some that basically gives them so much energy that it actually keeps them awake. So I love the fact that you're using it with the living water, because for people who don't know, when you say the word living water, it's just not words. Okay. So the water on our planet Earth is a pH average of about 7.8. So we are a naturally alkaline planet. So when somebody says to you alkaline water, we're really saying the water that was designed by God for usage on the planet Earth. So acidic water is water that's been through a water treatment facility, and lots of things have been added to it, and fluoride and other things to get it kill it of the life, basically. So the problem is that when you get alkaline water, you're putting in what our body has naturally had forever before civilization took over.
That's right.
And so the other thing is, on the planet Earth, there is a natural ORP, oxidation reduction potential, of about negative 140 millivolts. So when you're doing living water, you're actually putting in a negative ORP solution, and water from your tap doesn't have that. Most water, even at the grocery store, is not going to have a negative ORP. So this is important, because this is why it's healthier water. For people, most people will think it's just water. It's not just water. It's water as it was intended to be on the earth.
I am so glad you went there with alkaline water. In fact, I was actually going to ask you at the end, but we'll just do it now. By the way, Side note on alkaline water, most people think that you can actually just buy alkaline water in the store. Here's the thing though, if you ever test the actual ORP in the water, which is the alkalinity in the water, you'll notice that it's not alkaline. Alkaline water actually only lasts for about 10 hours. So when you buy it in the store, it's actually not alkaline. You can test it yourself. If you're kind of a nerdy like me, you want to get a pH tester, you can test it. It's not really alkaline. So with that being said, that's why you want to, by the way, have your own unit. You want to have your own machine at home, which is why I use, Varara's living water machine. You can find a link down below if you want more info. But doctor, I want you to address this. Why do some people say that alkaline water isn't really beneficial because it gets neutralized in your stomach because of stomach acid? Is that true?
Yes. This is all the garbage that's out there. So your stomach sets a pH of about 2 or 3. Okay, that's your stomach pH. It's a regulator. So when you put in water a pH, let's say 8, right? It figures it out and says, hey, all right, first thing in the morning, you put it in there. Hey, I don't like being 8. I want to be at 2, right? So what happens right then, it's what's called an alkaline tide. Immediately, when you drink the water, you get an alkaline tide. And let me say how. You pour hydrochloric acid into your stomach to neutralize the pH. But that's not a single equation. You have to have a balanced equation. So people are violating the law of thermodynamics when they say stupid things like that. You basically have to pour on one side of the cell, you're pouring hydrochloric acid, and the other side, you're pouring bicarbonate directly into the blood, because you can't split it without doing something with it. You can't just put the ion, negative ion here and a positive ion nowhere. You can't retain it in the cell. It doesn't work like that. So you get what's called an alkaline tide immediately. So you can feel it. If you're smart enough in the morning, you kind of sit there and just drink alkaline water, you will feel the alkaline tide in your blood right as soon as you drink it, right in the morning, first thing in the morning. So that's it. In a nutshell, there's nothing more. I actually thought this, I'm going to tell you a funny story, because people came to me and said, hey, the alkaline water. And I said, look, I was not turned on to it till early 2000s. And so at that point in time, I was still, that was one of the things I missed out on. All right. And for the most part, everything I told you, I learned because somebody in the community of Varara actually tried to come and tell me something about the structure and all this other garbage. And he was a really good guy, and I trusted him a lot. He's really smart, and he knows nutrition really well, right? But he didn't know chemistry really well. So I was like, look, you're violating the laws of chemistry. You're hurting me. I go, okay. But he grabbed me. He goes, look, Rick. He goes, because that's what my brother calls me. Joe calls me Rick. But he goes, it wasn't my brother, by the way. He doesn't know chemistry that well either. But he trusts me to kind of take care of this type of stuff. And he grabbed me. He said, look, I just want you to know it works. And so I'm gonna give you that I don't know how it works. He goes, but you're a smart guy. I want you to figure out how it works. And I just told you how it works. All right. I just told you. Basically, it's nothing special. It's just water on the planet. And we get crappy water everywhere on the planet except for the living water machine.
Yeah.
And go ahead, because I want you to fill in. And the other thing I want to tell you is the alkaline tide is how it works. You have to split. You can't split something and just, it's a one-sided equation. It doesn't work like that. It has to be a bilateral equation. So one side of the wall it's put in there, and the other side is putting the bicarbonate right in your blood. You get an immediate alkaline tide.
This is why we need doctors around to explain this to us, because most people don't know this and they just see, oh, it's controversial.
Doctors don't know. They're not scientists. So it's my science background that helps me out. It's not the doctor side, because doctors, they're not very good. Don't trust most doctors. They don't know science. Let me just tell you that one more time. Most doctors don't know science very well. That's just a fact.
Yeah, they just learn how to push pills. So I meant to say, actually, because of your science background, you're a scientist at heart. That's why you're able to really break it down. Back to Ketozone, again, powers the brain. It gives you energy, and it helps your metabolism, and it might help you with sleep. So I want to jump into probably my second favorite after Essentials for Life. I love Ketozone, but I love Revive as well. Revive enhances energy levels and helps mental focus. I want you to go through this formula with Revive.
So those are the things that were especially First of all, we use stuff like zinc citrate rather than oxide, and again, tried to keep things more on the oxide side out of the product. So you'll see magnesium citrate, a calcium citrate. You'll see a lot of things in here that I said earlier. But one of the things I think that's really unique about this product is the energy blend is something that we worked on and actually tried to get the right balance between, products that would sort of not create jitteriness, not just caffeine, but we added some of the other products in there in a balance that we thought, we tried, we've
Yes.
worked on that for a long time. It's almost like trial and error. You have to like get people to try it and different levels of it. And so trying to get the right focus energy blend, but the focus blend, that is basically the area that I was really interested in, neurodegenerative disease, and all of these things here have incredible, I'm looking at them now, have incredibly impactful effects on the brain. I love trimethylglycine because the methylation. All right, so you just split it and you get 3 methyl groups. So for those people, which is 72% of people listening right now, you have some methyl donor defects, and that is providing them, and that creates a really good balance, because people who have these methyl donor defects have a tendency to high anxiety levels, and this cools that out, and that's really important. The other products also kind of just in a sense in a balance, the N-acetyltyrosine, the pyroglutamic acid, DMAE, the ginkgo, all of these things have effects on the central nervous system. So they should give you sort of a good focus, basically almost like, hate to say this, but like taking an ADD medication. And so it should really have and a good amount of people will be able to feel that calming effect of it, even though you're getting a little bit of caffeine, you still have a calm focus. And then the cardio blend is basically one of those things where we went through all the things that have a positive effect on cardiac output, on vascular resistance, on vascular inflammation. All these things are super important. And I want to kind of go there, if you don't mind. I want to jump back on that. So for people who don't know about this, you're like, I want to go back to the ketone zones, because I think it just brought this something to mind. When you have red blood cells in your body, and you have high A1C levels, this is why this is for people who are diabetic and stuff. This is really important, because what happens is your red blood cells are smooth, and so they gently kind of bounce off the blood vessels. But unfortunately, when you have a high A1C, a glycosylated hemoglobin, it's basically like a limo with cans at the wedding banging across the ground, kind of banging across the ground. So every time, this glycosylated hemoglobin hits your cell wall, it creates a small injury to it. And when you have a A1C of 6 or 7 or 8, your body has a hard time keeping up with that. So this ketone drink is super important, because you really, here's another caveat for everybody out there. If you take one slice of toast or one piece of fruit, you're basically going to create a cascade of events that's going to lead to an insulin surge. And that insulin surge, the whole cascade of events leads to no burning of fat for about 6 to 8 hours. So lipolysis shuts down. Your mitochondria can't use fat, and they can't use carbs at the same time. It's like diesel and regular gas. It's super important to know that. So if you're looking at body composition, you literally have to avoid carbs for part of the day, or you'll be a skinny fat person. And I don't want to take away from anybody, but a lot of people that eat a lot of rice are skinny diabetics, and I can tell you, because that's what I do for a living. And so when you have a high rice diet, high carb diet, they still have diabetes. Now, some of the people are overweight, but a lot of them are skinny diabetics. It's especially true in a lot of people who consume a lot of carbohydrates. They're like, I can tell you certain populations are 60% diabetic. And so this is important. This ketone drink is for your health. It's not just for feeling good. You're gonna have less inflammation in your body. It's an incredibly anti-inflammatory thing. And I'll go to that one more step. I just want to say this. When your body doesn't have these carbs around, carbs create a storage mechanism. So the ketones, as I said, are more efficient energy. But the other thing that happens with carbs is you create storage, and storage creates inflammation. So when you go without carbohydrates, what you're really doing is you're cleaning up your body, and your body's smart enough. It's not going to clean up your brain and your heart. It's gonna clean out the junk. And if you go with a more ketone drink, you're going to feel better. You're going to have less inflammation in your body. So those of you who have a lot of inflammation, that's a really important part of getting rid of the inflammation in your body.
Again, with Ketozone and Revive, with Revive, you're right about that. I want to actually touch upon something you said, where you get a nice boost of energy with that caffeine and the formula, but you don't have the jitters, which is so good, because the last thing you want to do after having an energy boost is having the jitters. So
yeah, that's from that neuro blend. It's really calms down. All those methyl groups really help.
It's a great way to start the day. These both also taste great, so that's always good. Sometimes things that are healthy, they don't taste good and you don't want to have it, but it actually, every morning I'm like, I want my drink, so I have it throughout the day. I have 2 or 3 drinks a day. Resist is another amazing blend. You have microalgae complex, supports the body's natural immune system. I know we're on YouTube right now, so we don't talk about but that's why you want to support your own healthy immune system, the immune system that God gave you. So I want you to talk about Resist.
So Resist. So one of the things I talked about earlier is gut health, and this is actually a really important part of your gut health. There's a lot going on there. So if you've ever seen the vagus nerve, it's huge. I remember in medical school, they're like, that's the vagus nerve, and if it discharges, you faint. And that's about all they said about it. But there's connections between the vagus nerve and your brain. And there's connections along the way of your gut of what's called Peyer's patches, which are basically the immune system. When stuff comes in your lungs, it's exposed, and there's a system to fight against things that you don't want in there. But there's also the same thing. Every time we eat something, the stomach and the small intestine, they all make decisions for us. And unfortunately, a lot of what we put in there is not good. It's the immune health in the gut can be, for many people, terrible. They have chronic inflammatory bowel system syndrome, and they have Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And usually we kind of put it under an inflammatory condition now. We don't really necessarily name them separately. But what this does is it's going in there and it's basically stimulating those Peyer's patches. It's also, you've got all these other things that are kind of the reishi mushroom, the astragalus, the echinacea, and a lot of these other elderberry. They're all kind of hitting in on the cellular immune response, also kind of upticking your immune system to be on the ready and a little more active. And I definitely recommend with that having the vitamin D, good vitamin D levels, and the 3,000 units, international units in the Essentials for Life is actually a pretty good start for most people.
Yes, you take 2 Essentials for Life a day, and you can take 1 Resist a day to build up your immune system. I just got over a cold. I have a little bit of a cough left, and this stuff is amazing. So, Dr. Richard, is there anything else you wanted to chat about or mention before we go?
No, I just think I'm gonna take some lessons from you. I love your enthusiasm, and I think the way stuff rolls off your tongue is amazing. And I really want to say thank you for having me on. And I think you're a great ambassador and spokesperson. You know what you're talking about, and you do it so effortlessly. So I think there's a lot of lucky people that get to be sort of taught by you. And I thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Yeah. It's an honor to have you here. You created the formula. I tell everyone about this, so it's really great to hear your thoughts behind the formula. And I'm telling you guys, I don't share anything on my channel or with my customers, anything that I do not use. I use everything here. And I always say, God is my witness. I literally love Revive. I use Ketozone every day. I take Essentials for Life every day. I have to be better with taking Resist. I usually only take it when I'm sick, but I'm looking at the back. It says take it daily. So Anna, noted to self, will take daily to make sure my immune system is up to par with everything that's kind of going around us. So
I think I just kind of tag on you there. I think because you are so healthy that, I mean, I think a lot of people, a little older group that are really, they have a hard time stimulating their immune system. They have a hard time making antibodies. Our white cell counts go down. Anybody who's got the jab, I'll just say it on here. Lipid nanoparticles are toxic to white blood cells. So if you had some of these mRNA lipid nanoparticle shots, what you're basically doing is you're destroying some of your white blood cells. It's not my opinion. It's just that's the thing. That's what they do. It's 20 years of research, and there's multiple studies showing that. And so you need these products will be especially helpful for your immune system function. If you have that, those people should all probably take them every day, because it just keeps your immune system on the ready. It's like having an army that's a standing army. That's a good way for you to think about the resist. It's a standing army. Some people don't need it. Younger people, super healthy immune systems. They still have their thymus. They're still making T cells. After age 50, you're not making T cells anymore. So this is especially important for those over 50.
I'm just like so excited. I love all of them. But listen, if you guys want to try any of these products I talked about today with him and his formulas, you actually can go ahead and do so. The company is doing a subscribe and save. Your first month vitamins are free. So you can pick either one: Resist, Revive, Ketozone, Essentials for Life. You guys, Ketozone is over $100. You can try it for free. In fact, the company is also going to pay for the shipping and the tax. That's right. I mean, companies never do that. Usually you have to pay for tax and shipping, all free. So you get to try one of these guys for free. If you do decide you want to cancel your subscription, you can do that. No problem. Risk free. You can call in and cancel, but give these a try. They're giving $100 vitamins away for free, and say, hey, I want to try Essentials for Life. I want to try Ketozone. So thank you guys for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give this channel a like, a subscribe, and also a share on your social media. Our health is super important. We have to take care of this temple that God gave us. And why not take care of it with the best immune system boosts and vitamins and nutrients? And again, your family and friends can also try these products for free.